Such a human being who shakes the soul. There was a time when everything seemed to revolve around appearances, around wealth, success, intellect, and prestige. In that time, the word humanity was used often, but understood rarely. It was stitched into speeches, carved into monuments, and printed in books, yet it was absent from the hearts of many. A man once said, "Real humanity cannot be taught. It must be remembered." And that memory, though buried under layers of pride, fear, and ambition, flickered within the soul like a dying candle waiting for breath. In a remote part of the world, away from cities and screens, stood a dry village, cracked and split like the faces of those who lived there. They had seen decades of famine, watched rivers disappear, and winds turn from gentle to fierce. Despite all this, they survived. Not because they had everything, but because they had each other. An old woman there used to say, "We don't live by food or water. We live by how we treat each other when we have nothing to give." Across the world, in places of great abundance, people lost this truth. They held phones tighter than hands, raised walls higher than voices of compassion. They donated money and thought that was love. They applauded charities and forgot to speak kindly to those next to them. They helped strangers far away, but ignored the silent cries at home. In their polished houses, humanity became a product, something to display in public and forget in private. One day, a man who had everything decided to leave it behind, not out of rebellion, but out of a hunger deeper than what bread could satisfy. He had grown tired of his own voice echoing in empty halls, tired of pretending to be kind while carrying bitterness in his heart. So he went walking, not to find meaning, but to lose what wasn't true. He traveled far, speaking little, watching more. He saw people arguing over faith, but forgetting love. He saw kindness used as a performance. He saw smiling faces hiding lonely souls. Then he came upon a street where a beggar sat, not asking for money, but simply smiling at those who passed. Most ignored him. Some mocked. A few dropped coins. But the man stopped and asked, "Why do you smile when you receive nothing?" The beggar replied, "Because I'm not here to receive. I'm here to remind." This puzzled the man. The beggar continued, "Each person who passes has forgotten something important. My smile is a mirror. Some remember. Most don't, but it's worth trying." That night the man wept, not from sadness, but from recognition. He remembered what it felt like to care with no agenda, to listen without planning a reply. He began to live differently, not by changing the world, but by changing the way he walked through it. He started small, helping an old man carry a heavy bag, offering water to a tired worker, sitting beside a grieving stranger without saying a word. No camera caught these moments, no praise followed, but he felt alive in a way that years of success had never delivered. The feeling was not happiness, it was peace, the kind that settles not in the mind, but in the soul. Elsewhere, a young woman had grown disillusioned with all that was expected of her. She was told to be perfect, polite, ambitious, beautiful, but never real. Her face hurt from smiling when she didn't want to. Her heart ached from pretending to be fine. She realized that the world admired strength but punished vulnerability. One night, unable to keep wearing the mask, she cried in the middle of a crowded train. People looked away, except one. A child sitting across from her walked over and handed her a piece of chocolate with both hands. "This helps me when I'm sad," he said. She didn't eat the chocolate, but held it like a torch in darkness. That simple act, that pure moment, healed more than words ever could. She learned something that day, that real humanity lives in small gestures, not grand ones. It lives in moments that don't trend, in kindness that isn't shared online, in empathy that doesn't look for reward. In another part of the world, a war had ended, but its shadows lingered. Broken buildings stood like gravestones, and the air carried memories of screams. There, among ruins, an old man opened his home to children who had lost theirs. He wasn't rich, nor educated, nor strong, but he was present. He told stories not of hate, but of hope. He gave them bread when he had little, warmth when he had less. The children grew not just in age, but in understanding. They didn't learn math or science first. They learned compassion. Later, when they left, they carried that lesson with them like a sacred flame, spreading it wherever they went. There was a janitor in a massive corporation who cleaned silently every night. People barely noticed him. But one evening, during a storm, an intern was stuck late and crying from stress. The janitor sat beside her and said, "You don't have to be strong all the time. It's okay to fall apart and begin again." That simple kindness saved her. She would later become a leader who treated others with respect because someone had once treated her like a human, not a title. Real humanity, it seemed, was not an idea but a presence. It was felt in the way one looked into another's eyes, in how one listened without judgment, in the way one waited for the slowest walker instead of rushing ahead. It lived in silence more than speeches, in touch more than theory. It was not bound by race, religion, or status. It didn't ask for permission to act. It simply did what was right when no one was watching. There was a time when an earthquake destroyed many lives. In that chaos, people ran not away from danger, but toward each other. A man pulled a stranger from rubble, breaking his own arm. A child shielded her baby brother with her body. A woman gave her only blanket to an elder trembling in the cold. No one asked which god they prayed to, what language they spoke, or how much they earned. In that moment, all were one. That is humanity. Not the illusion of separation, but the recognition of shared fragility and strength. There was once a teacher who taught no subject but transformed every student. He would say, "Before you succeed, learn to care. Before you lead, learn to serve. Before you speak, learn to listen. And before you die, make sure at least one person is better because you lived." Many laughed at his simplicity, but years later, they would remember those words more than any textbook. A prisoner in a cell once gave his last bread to a dying man next to him. A stranger gave up his place in a lifeboat so a mother and child could survive. A nurse held the hand of a patient who had no family, whispering songs until the last breath. None of these stories were in the news, but they were carved into the heart of the earth. In every corner of the world, real humanity exists, in acts too quiet to echo, too small to measure, yet powerful enough to shift the world. It is in the forgiveness given when it wasn't asked. It is in the apology made when it wasn't demanded. It is in the decision to stay when leaving is easier. It is in the courage to see someone's pain and not look away. As the world grows louder and faster, real humanity grows quieter and deeper. It hides in pauses between words, in the choice to not insult back, in the humility to accept one's mistakes, and in the strength to ask, "Are you okay?" and truly mean it. It is not a philosophy, it is a practice. It is not an identity, it is an action. Real humanity isn't found in perfection. It is found in imperfection embraced, in walking with the wounded, in laughing with the lonely, in crying with the broken. It is not something you do once, but something you become. It is not a role you play, but a light you carry. And in the end, it may not matter how rich or famous or intelligent one becomes. What will matter is how many lives you touched, how many hearts you softened, and how much love you left behind in the footsteps of your journey. For when all else fades, status, wealth, power, only humanity remains. It remains in the memories people carry, in the warmth of a hug once given, in the silent prayers spoken for a stranger. It remains in the courage to stand up for what is right, even when alone, in the strength to lift someone up, even when you're falling apart. It remains in giving water to the thirsty, respect to the ignored, and time to the forgotten. That is real humanity, not an idea, but a way of being. Thanks for watching. Please share this video.